Number 9. Milan LONCAR. One evening in 2020, 25-year-old Milan LONCAR was walking his dog just a block away from his home in North Philadelphia when two men approached him. They held him at gunpoint and went through his pockets before shooting him in the chest and fleeing the scene. Hours later, police pulled over a vehicle in connection with a recent carjacking. 4 men took off, but officers managed to take 20-year-old Davis Josephus into custody. In addition to his suspected role in the carjacking, his clothing matched up with what one of the suspects was wearing in surveillance footage of LONCAR's murder. Josephus had previously managed to bail himself out of jail numerous times over the years for several alleged violent offenses, including a different carjacking than the one he was most recently accused of, as well as assaulting and threatening a corrections officer while in custody. Many have wondered why he was even let free in the first place, and why judges were so lenient in granting bail, considering the nature of the allegations against him. Philadelphia District Attorney Joanne Pescator admitted that it had been a mistake to impose such low bail on Josephus in the past. Now that he's being accused of a violent murder, he's going to be held for trial. Number 8. Diamond Alvarez. For most of us, a new year marks new beginnings. This sadly wasn't the case for Diamond Alvarez, a young woman who was found fighting for her life on a sidewalk near her home in Houston, Texas, earlier this year. Someone had fired 22 bullets into her from behind and left her for dead. By the time help arrived, it was too late to save Diamond. She had gone out to walk her family's dog earlier that day and never came home. When the dog returned home without Diamond, her family members knew that something was wrong and began to look for her. She died in her mother's arms. Investigators soon found out that Diamond had met up with an ex-boyfriend, Frank DeLeon Jr., whom she had recently broken up with after learning that he had cheated on her. Before the pair met up on the day of the murder, DeLeon sent Diamond a text message telling her to keep their interactions a secret. When police went to DeLeon's home to arrest him, they found a suitcase on his bed filled with clothing and toiletries. It was more than someone would typically pack for just an overnight bag, suggesting that DeLeon may have had plans to flee the area and live as a fugitive. Prosecutors told the judge that they were worried he wouldn't show up for court, and the high school senior's bail was set at $250,000. He managed to come up with the money and was released on house arrest. DeLeon violated the terms of his release by leaving his house without permission. A judge once again set the man's bail at $250,000, and he once again paid it and was released on house arrest while the case continues to unfold in court. Diamond's mother told local station KHOU that she's devastated about DeLeon's release and that his bond wasn't high enough. She also said that she's scared because he lives near her and the family has received threats. Now that he's been released yet again, she's downright infuriated and is left with no choice but to hope the system delivers justice accordingly. Number 7. Herbert MERRITT. 64-year-old Herbert MERRITT was walking his dog on a golf course in Delray Beach, Florida earlier this year when someone shot him in the ankle. When deputies found him lying on the ground with a gunshot wound, he identified his alleged shooter as 74-year-old Robert Levine. MERRITT claimed that Levine had rode up on his golf cart and yelled at him for having a dog on the golf course. The victim said that he had tried to run away, but Levine began shooting and chased after him. After catching up with MERRITT, witnesses claimed that Levine kicked the man in the head and beat him with a golf club. Deputies found multiple shell casings and 2 bloody golf clubs at the scene. MERRITT was treated at the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries, and Levine is facing several charges, including first-degree attempted murder. While it's true that dogs aren't supposed to be on the golfing green, there's simply no reason for someone to go to the extremes that MERRITT's attacker did, especially since he was walking his dog near the edge of the property during the evening hours, when he was unlikely to pose much of a disruption to golfers. Number 6. ERIN Wilson. ERIN Wilson was walking her dog, Eva, in rural northwestern California recently when a mountain lion suddenly lunged at her and clawed at her shoulder. She was in terrible pain and called out for Eva, who had fled the scene. Eva immediately came running to the rescue and attempted to take down the mountain lion, despite being just 55 pounds, 25 kilograms. As the two fought, Wilson overheard Eva starting to cry and saw that the cat had firmly clamped its jaws down on Eva's head. Wilson struggled to separate the animals by throwing rocks at the mountain lion and trying to gouge its eyes out, but nothing seemed to be working. Not knowing what else to do, she headed toward a nearby road and flagged down a passing motorist for help. A Good Samaritan named Sharon Houston pulled over and retrieved a piece of PVC pipe from her vehicle, which the women used to beat the mountain lion as it began dragging Eva off the trail and into the wilderness. Eventually, the mountain lion relented and went away. Wilson immediately took Eva to the vet and then sought treatment for herself. Eva's injuries were pretty serious. She suffered from seizures while awaiting care. Her skull was fractured, she had a punctured sinus cavity, and her eye was severely damaged. But she pulled through, and Wilson couldn't be more grateful for Eva, telling Today that, "I don't think I will ever be able to live up to how amazing and loyal she is to me." Number 5. Joshua Walker. While walking his dog near a homeless encampment one evening in Austin, Texas recently, local resident Joshua Walker was approached by a man who grabbed him by the neck and said, "I'm taking your dog." Walker told Fox 7 Austin that at first he thought the interaction was a joke. He told the man no, that he couldn't take his dog, and was then met by 4 attackers wielding a knife and a machete. The victim struggled to remember what happened after he felt something hit him in the head, causing him to drop to the ground, and asked for help. Meanwhile, Joshua's dog ran to a nearby business where it was kept safe from harm. Over the next day and a half, Walker was treated at a nearby hospital for wounds to his arm, back, and head, and he underwent surgery for a ruptured artery. The injuries have severely disrupted his life. As a career welder, Walker must now find a new job that doesn't require the use of both arms. He had only been living in Austin for 6 months when the attack happened, and had moved to a neighborhood with a good reputation. But the scene seems to be changing fast, and residents are complaining that crime is getting worse. Following the assault, police cleared out the homeless encampment and reassured the public that they were taking necessary action to address concerns about loitering and drug selling. But residents are upset that things had to get this bad for law enforcement to take action, and they're worried that the people causing problems will return. After all, the city imposed a camping ban a year ago and has apparently failed to enforce it in some areas until terrible things happened. Number 4. Eliza Pulaski. After leaving home to walk her dog Curtis in late 2019, a pregnant woman named Eliza Pulaski was found dead in the Retz Forest northeast of Paris. An autopsy determined that the 29-year-old had died from a hemorrhage following several bites from one or more dogs. Investigators took DNA samples from 67 dogs, including the 5 American Staffordshire Terriers that Eliza and her partner owned, in hopes of identifying the canines responsible for her death. Rumors began to circulate, claiming that Eliza's dog Curtis, the one she was walking when she was brutally attacked, had bitten her in a previous incident. Breaking a long-standing media silence, the woman's mother, Natalie Pulaski, clarified that Eliza's previous injuries were actually from a cat bite. In response to records showing that Curtis had no official papers and is absent from France's National Dog Register, Natalie said that her daughter's partner was unaware of these obligations after getting the dog in Belgium. She went on to say that Eliza was great with dogs and would have known if one of her own was a danger to her, and if that was the case, she wouldn't have taken the dog out for a walk. Unfortunately, Natalie was wrong, and DNA testing ultimately revealed that Curtis had, in fact, killed Eliza. Number 3. Ronald Cunningham. A 64-year-old Manistique, Michigan resident named Ronald Cunningham was walking his dog one evening recently when a complete stranger approached him and attacked him with a hatchet. The perpetrator struck Cunningham several times before fleeing the scene. A little while later, someone called the police and reported that their friend, 20-year-old Reeves Edward Kingren, was carrying a hatchet around and acting irrationally. Officers caught up with the suspect at a local gas station where Kingren's friend had parked and abandoned the vehicle out of concern over the man's behavior. They took Kingren into custody and charged him with assault with intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder. In the meantime, Cunningham was treated at a local hospital for his injuries and released. He told investigators that he does not know the suspect. Kingren is currently being held on $50,000 bond. Number 2. Marco Sandoval. During the early morning hours of March 12th of this year, 52-year-old Marco Sandoval took his dog outside for a walk in Los Angeles. A local resident's security camera footage shows a car pulling up to the man and leading to what appeared to be an exchange of words between Sandoval and another man. The suspect fired 2 bullets into Sandoval and took off while the victim's dog ran back home to safety. A passerby found Sandoval a little while later, but it was too late to save him and he was declared dead at the scene. Neighbors were left shaken by the violence, which doesn't usually happen in their neighborhood. One witness was awoken by the argument between Sandoval and the suspect and said that it appeared that they knew each other. The Los Angeles County District Attorney charged 21-year-old Clifton Kamal Stiles of San Marcos, Texas, in connection with Sandoval's death, but very few details about the circumstances surrounding the disturbing encounter have been released. Investigators have revealed that they believe Stiles may have been suffering from a mental illness at the time of the crime, and that Sandoval was randomly targeted. Number 1. Christina Repaci. Los Angeles resident Christina Repaci was walking her dog in West Hollywood recently when she noticed a U.S. Postal Service box filled with envelopes. She took the box home and counted 104 mail-in ballots that had never reached their destination during election time. Repaci began spreading the word of her discovery on social media, hoping to catch the attention of politicians, and also contacted the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department for advice on how to properly report what she had found. County Clerk Dean Logan came by personally and retrieved the mail. New ballots were issued to the voters whose original ballots somehow ended up in a box on the sidewalk, and the Los Angeles County Registrar's Office reassured the public that it was cooperating with a U.S. Postal Service investigation into the incident. The agency claimed that so far, it appeared as though the stray ballots were the result of an isolated mail theft incident and weren't part of an attempt to disrupt the upcoming election. The positions at stake include state governor, as well as several U.S. Senate and Congress positions, and various local positions, including Los Angeles County Sheriff. Repaci was left feeling uneasy after finding the missing ballots, something that she said should never happen. She told Fox News that she feared she wasn't the only person who came across something like this, and that other people may have thrown the mail into a dumpster or failed to take proper action. The difficulty she had in trying to figure out what to do with the ballots only furthered her concern. Thanks for watching. Would you rather your own dog viciously attack you and leave you covered in injuries, or attack someone else and suffer the consequences? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.